Welcome to Success Is Podcast. I'm your host, Phil Portman, serial entrepreneur, author, and podcast host. Whether success for you is more money, time with your family, a healthy, well-balanced life, or freedom, I'm interviewing guests and getting you the advice to make it happen. So join me as we uncomplicate the complicated, help you define success, and give you the strategies to make it happen. Welcome to the Success Is Podcast. I'm your host, Phil Portman. Joining me today is Orest Komarnyckyj. Orest is a former periodontal regenerative surgeon, stand-up comedian, internet marketer, men's mentor, podcast host, and blogger. Thank you for joining me today, Orest.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
And I'm glad we made it through that introduction. So kicking it off, tell us, what does success mean to you?
Success, first of all, is multifaceted. Okay, it's not just one thing. And unless you got it all, then you are not really truly successful. And everybody thinks about financial success. I was just I was just on a podcast where I was interviewing with an entrepreneur who exited his business, and he had what I've heard other entrepreneurs who exit their business refer to as basically "fuck you" money.
Yeah,
it's like I got so much money, I don't really care what you think anymore. And he's got that. So there's that kind of level, or maybe you're just you're content with where you are and able to take care of your expenses, and you don't have a particularly high have a lot of needs and things like that, and so you can be successful in any different ways as long as you feel like you are secure. I think that's the thing. And then sometimes people want more than security, but that's where the first level of success is. The other part is your fitness. So financial fitness. If you are basically unhealthy, and I know all about what that's all about, because there was a point where in my 40s where my age was being outpaced by my waist size. And so having a physical fitness and health is real important. And I've been up and down in that arena. Most recently, I had a significant setback medically in terms of an ostomy that I had at the beginning of 2022. And then the last part is family and your relationships. If you are in a committed relationship, a marriage, are you truly there with your best friend? Or are you like worlds apart, and that's just a big gaping hole that you're basically filling with other stuff, maybe porn, maybe having an affair, whatever, or you just kind of resigned that there's not going to be a particularly great relationship. So I think success is in those three areas, and to have it all in all three areas. So that's what that means, and that's what I work towards every day. I have a morning ritual that I go through. And one of the questions I ask myself is, what can I do to be a better version of myself today than I was yesterday? Now, that sounds really good in theory. There's some days that I just don't pull it off. Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not going to tell you I'm perfect. There's some days that I just don't pull it off. Sure. But at least I ask myself that question, and a lot of times I do. So that to me is what success is. In a lot of different ways, and as you get older, success means being comfortable in your skin. That's a big part. And so I've transitioned from a periodontal regenerative surgeon. I had a good career in that. I've always been kind of a cutting edge kind of person. I always wanted to be the best version I could be in my profession. And I was that, and I would use stuff before anybody ever used it. And then eventually the crowd caught up to me. So that was important. And then I knew that there was a time for me to transition out. And part of that reason why is that I got to the point where actually I was not interested in being the best version of myself as a periodontal regenerative surgeon. It's not that I was crappy. I just
Sure.
wasn't there. There was new technology coming on board. There was new things coming on board, and I didn't want to learn it. I really didn't want to learn it. I just like, oh my God, go to another periodontal meeting was, was horrible. It was like listening to opera.
Yeah.
It was or watching baseball. It was just horrible. And so I did that, and I've always been kind of even when I was in practice, I was kind of a smart ass, and I'm also an attention whore. And so I don't mind sitting here talking about
Sure.
myself for the next hour, and just you can leave
Yeah.
right now, and I'll just
Perfect
talk for a
role
while.
for you. Yeah, I'll be out
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
so 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 this whole journey of me taking this next point in my life to become a podcaster, to become a men's mentor, uh, because I've been told that I've had lots of friends that have told me like, "Oh, that was really helpful," or "I was really glad you we sat and talked about that." Uh, is an important part of my life because I'm going to be 70 very soon, but and the last time I said this, my wife just made a horrible face, like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm that long." There's a good chance I'm going to live to. I know I'm going to live over 100, barring something really, really off the wall, because no one in my family has died of natural causes before the age of 90.
Oh, that's incredible.
And we when I visited, my parents came from Ukraine after World War II, or during World War II, actually, not after, like literally during, at the end of the war.
Mm.
They were escaping the Soviets. And when I went back to visit my family back there, I realized that we were hillbillies. I mean, we're truly hillbillies, smoking unfiltered cigarettes
Get out of here.
and moonshine.
Still
Literally that.
living past 90 on moonshine and
Yeah,
cigarettes.
and everybody knows died of natural causes. And I figured that because of that lifestyle, the people that died of natural causes were weeded out hundreds of years ago.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. Yeah. So you've got the great genetics for what you talk
Yeah.
about, which is the anti-aging component.
Yeah.
Now, for you, I'm taking, because you live such a long life genetically, this probably has more to anti-aging cognitively and energy levels and things like that. Is that correct?
Well, yes and no, because I've never been really too smart. So
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
no, I think, yeah, it's not just the longevity, it's the quality.
Hmm.
It's the quality of life that's important. And I do things now that I started many years ago that affect the quality of my life today. And I will continue to do stuff to improve the potential quality of my life in the future. And that's why I spend a lot of time in the anti-aging space. They call it functional medicine, but whenever I say functional medicine, no one knows what I'm talking about. When I say anti-aging, everybody understands what we're talking about.
Yep.
So there is lots of stuff for you and everyone else to avail themselves of if they want to have quality life. And unfortunately, most people wait until shit goes bad to to use that. And it still works, but it'd be a hell of a lot better if you used it before.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of those things you talk about are not only fitness and health, but also relationship components that can help you live a better quality life.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically with your marriage and that sort of thing. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? And are there things that we can do now, in our 20s, 30s, 40s that would set us up for a long, healthy, prosperous life from the people we surround ourselves with?
I think that there's several things that are real important. And the first one is the conversations. The most important relationship you have in your life is a relationship you have with yourself. And Jordan Peterson talks about this, and actually a lot of people talk about this, is like, if you are having the conversation that you have with yourself in your head with someone else, with another person,
Sure,
that other person will want to be around you. And for many people, the answer is no, because they got really shitty conversations going on in their head. You know what I mean? I mean, you know, half the stuff that we say to ourselves in our own mind,
you wouldn't say to somebody else.
you wouldn't. No
Yeah,
way. Either
yeah.
they'd either leave you or they punch you in the face.
Yeah, yeah. Quit whining, right? Shut your
Yeah,
mouth already.
yeah. So that's where it all starts, and no one can make you happy. You know, you're responsible for yourself, for making yourself happy, and so that's the first part. As far as the part with my wife, I was fortunate that I didn't get married until I was older. I was 40 years old when I got married, and she did not have our first child, our first daughter, until I was 45. And I was actually very much a child in a man's body. And so I was engaged several times with no intention of ever getting married, which was not, it's not something that, I mean, we kind of laugh about it, but I don't really laugh about it because I don't think I treated those women fairly. And they were all very nice people, very good people. And, you know, guys always say like, oh, it's not you, it's me, but they don't really believe that it's them. But in reality, it was me. Like I said, 4 different women, and I was the constant in that experiment.
Sure.
In that experiment, it
See
was
the
definitely,
thing
yeah, it was the
going
common
over.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was me. Even though when I said it, I thought I was lying, and I was lying to myself. So actually, the last woman that I was engaged to, she was very, very smart. She was a physician at the Mayo Clinic, and that's kind of been my MO. So I was like smart, beautiful woman, and so we were having problems when we were engaged, and she got us into marriage counseling, or pre-marriage counseling, which the end result was that we shouldn't be married. But there were a lot of things going on in my life at that time that were not particularly good, and I was actually in a horrible place in my life at that point. So to get back on like, I digressed a little bit, but the thing that makes our marriage successful, and my wife is you know, she used to be an attorney. Now she does mergers and acquisitions, and she sells companies between 5 million and 150 million. So she usually represents the seller in these transactions. And so she's, you know, there are times that we realize that what she's going through is the most important thing. And, you know, you've been through an exit, you know, the last 30 days of an exit are pretty intense.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, as soon as that money gets close, the closer that money that gets transferring, and when you're talking like, you know, tens of millions of dollars, maybe more, the shit gets real.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shit gets real, and everybody starts looking at things very, very carefully.
Yeah.
And so there are times that I know, like, I have to be in the back burner. I not only do I have to be in the back burner, I need to be there to support her.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times that when I'm doing stuff, I'm the primary and she's back there supporting. And then there are other times that we need to be important as a couple together. and to work on things. And so those I think that's the other thing. And I have a great relationships with my kids who are older, they're in their 20s. They're both graduated from college, employed. Never, I can't see a situation where they ever want to move back in with us. Thank God. I mean, they did during COVID. That was a weird situation. But I have a great relationship with them. One of the things that they live in different cities than we do. And one of the things that we've done, and I would encourage you, some of your listeners to do this, especially if you have older kids that live in different cities, is that once a month, I have a happy hour with my kids. I have a drink, get on Zoom, and we sit and talk for about an hour.
Oh, that's
I
great.
think it's about once a month is about right. I think that if you try to do it every week, it's just too weird. It's like a helicopter parent. It's just like way too close. It's like, once a month is about right.
That's good.
And then having good relationships with you, and I'm honest with my kids. We've always been honest with our kids.
You tell them about some of the mistakes you've made and that.
Oh shit, yeah, all the time. Tell them
Yeah.
about the mistakes I made last week.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't fire someone fast enough. No, we've been very honest with our kids in terms of finances. Like, okay, we can afford this now, or we can't afford this. This is what's going on. This is what's going on. Dad's acting goofy because he's real tense about this or whatever. So no, we have always been very honest about him. Now, it's not, sometimes not totally brutally, but we've been essentially honest with them. And so I think that's an important part. We've always treated our kids like adults, and they were never our friends, but we always treated them like adults, and we talked to them like adults, and we always had, we would have the other thing I think as far as the kids go is that my wife and I were listening to something, and they said like 3 things, and I can only remember 3 things that you need to do, or 5 things that you need to do as far as your kids go. And I can only remember 2 of them now. But one of them was go to church. Okay. And we're both raised Catholic, but we didn't go to church. Fuck, we didn't go to church when we had no kids. But as soon as we had kids, it was kind of like, okay, a whole different thing. It was a whole different responsibility. And have dinner together. We were sat down, and not with your phones, and not in front of the TV, but actually sit down and have dinner together where you're sitting and talking. And so I think that those are the things that are important. And the other part that I'll tell you, I think is really important, is very actively pick the people that you have in your life as your friends. I do that very strategically, in terms of I look to be around high quality people that have the same kind of thoughts and the same character, have the same level of integrity that I do, that are interested in working on themselves and being better versions of themselves, and we tend to push each other. And I've also have exercised people for my life.
Yeah.
Very, very.
You're gonna prune them out, right?
Yeah, very intentionally. Yeah. And some of those have been family members. Some of those have been family members that were just fucking toxic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it's the best thing I did. I prefer it hadn't been the case, but in reality, there wasn't enough vodka for me to maintain that family relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah,
this is somebody you don't talk to completely, or you kind of keep at more of an
I don't talk to completely. We don't the tension level is so high that it doesn't take us more than 45 seconds to get at each other's throats.
Yeah, got it. Yeah. So let's switch topics just a little bit. I want to talk about your podcast and some of the things that you've talked about. You have some for our listeners, some uncommon topics which I'd like to hear about. And are these ones that you actively look for, or do they find you, or how does that come about?
What do you mean uncommon?
There may be some people who would blush a little at some of the things you talked about, and you go at them full on and talk about some
you
of these
mean
topics.
like vaginal atrophy and vaginal rejuvenation? Is that where we want to start?
That's what we're talking about. Yeah.
We're talking about that one, or are you talking about erectile dysfunction or menopause or those
how
type
to
of things?
where to touch a woman to get
One
laid,
secret place to touch a woman. And by the way, it's not her vagina. So just so you know,
that up.
just to clear that up. And if you want to know that, I'm going to make a shameless plug here at the beginning. That's in my digital magazine, which you can get by going to the standard.academy/magazine. There's that article and a few others in there. Actually, I got one of my guests, actually the vaginal atrophy rejuvenation. I'm going to have Anna back on actually next week. And we're going to be talking about an orgasm a day. There's a lot of people that are talking about that. So, yeah, these are things that people need to hear about, but they don't want to talk about it because they're a bit squeamish, and so they may listen to my podcast with their earbuds on, but not tell anybody.
Yeah, but it's interesting, and it goes back to I think what you were talking about with your children, how you're honest, and these are honest conversations that you're having, honest conversations you should have with your spouse. And at least what I found in my relationship is my wife and I have been passionately in love with each other for like 2 decades, and we're completely honest with each other. We've never had that relationship where it's like, oh, I can't tell her how she looks in that, or how she's looking today, or she can't say that to me. No, we're completely honest. We're best friends, and we say whatever it is. And I see too many people in relationships that will tell their friend something that they wouldn't tell their wife, or they won't have those honest conversations. And likewise, they won't even have some of those honest conversations with themselves.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And so I think that honesty component that is causing people to blush is important. And you're having those on a regular basis. And so I'd love to hear a little bit more about, how you got into that and some of the topics that you explore.
Yeah, my kids don't really want to listen to a lot of my podcasts.
Sure.
they will guarantee. I guarantee you ask either of them, and the letters TMI will come out. It's just to me, I find those things interesting, and a lot of them end up being around sex, which is, I think, a very important part of a relationship. To have a level of intimacy that is not just using a woman's vagina to masturbate your penis. There's more to it than that, and a lot of times people don't think about that. I actually had once I had a person on my podcast, and I was, God, I hope she doesn't listen to this. But she came on my podcast, and I was talking about erectile dysfunction, and there's an affiliate product that's called a acoustic wave device that I promote, and what it does is just increases blood flow. That's all acoustic wave devices do, is increase blood flow. And her comment was like, "Oh, men think too much about their penises and sex." And I'm going like, "And you are a couples coach?" I'm thinking about the poor SOB sitting there in a couples coaching session and having her say that to him.
Yeah.
I mean, the two things that couples fight the most about: money and sex. That's it. I mean, there's other things, but those are the two top. If we were on the match game, that would be an easy one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that and a relationship needs to be fulfilling in all aspects. They need to be fulfilling spiritually, emotionally, and physically. So it's not just one aspect, and I think that's an important part of it. I mean, it's not the only part of it, but you know, all three aspects. Yeah, you can't ignore it. You can't ignore it. And if you do, you know, there's several things that can occur. One, you get porn. Two, have an affair, or just be miserable. You know, just be miserable. So that's kind of why I talk about that stuff and other things. You know, talk about relationships, and again, the biggest part there is communication, and having an honest communication. Like you said, I think it's very, very important to have an honest communication.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I think you know, we as an American society get very used to telling lies. You know, early on from kids, you know, we tell them all kinds of lies, and then they grow up and they don't, you don't understand why they have trust relationships, you know, issues with you, and you get used to telling all these little white lies, and it turns into a very slippery slope, and soon you're telling bigger and bigger lies.
Right. It's hard to keep track of the lies.
That's a lot of energy, right? You burn off a lot of energy trying to do all that. So I'd like to hear any tips you have for somebody that wants to live life the fullest. A lot of entrepreneurs, business people out there listening to this call. Any advice for them? Somebody coming from you, a surgeon, right? Somebody who has had a pretty busy life professionally. What advice would you give to somebody to living a full life?
I think it comes down to three things that you have to do. One is to be able to identify clearly what you want. Okay, because most people just go day by day, kind of, you know, spending their time and not really working towards what they want. And even at age 70, there's stuff that I want, that I work towards. And so, but you need to be able to clearly articulate it. Some sort of nebulous want, you know, it just doesn't work. It has to be something you can clearly articulate, and in many ways it has to be measurable. So people get stuck on that part, and they also go after stuff that they don't really want. You say stuff, oh, I want to do this, and like been wanting to do it for 10 years, and no, you don't really want to do it, or else you would have done it. There was one, for some reason I thought it would be really cool to yodel. Okay. And I don't know why. Actually, I know why. I want to go the thing, and I haven't done it yet. There's this thing called the King of Switzerland contest, and it's about, apparently it's about as redneck as you can ever imagine.
Yeah, sure.
The boulder rolling and that kind of shit.
I love it.
And so I thought it'd be kind of fun to go to Switzerland and yodel. And then somebody said, oh, you can take this yodeling class. Well, it was 30 minutes to drive there, 30 minutes to drive back, and then the class, and they're like, I didn't do it. And the reality of it is, obviously, I didn't want to.
You didn't want it, right?
I didn't really want to learn how to. It sounded nice. There are things that sound like nice to be able to do.
Yeah, but
I didn't really want to yodel, or else I would have gone to the yodeling class. And I could have yodeled right here on this program for you, but I can't. And so I think the first thing is the what, and to be able to clearly identify and make sure you really want that thing. And then the other thing is the why. And Simon Sinek has got it backwards, because his book says start with why. I'll tell when I get a chance to meet him, I'll tell him you got it wrong, dude. The why comes after the what, and you want things. The reason why you want things is you want them for the feelings that they give you. There's no inherent having a Lamborghini. Okay. Well, no, you want the feelings.
Yeah.
You want the attention. You want to feel the power, the rumbling. You want the speed, the wind blowing by you, all that shit. Those are the feelings that you want. There's no point in having a Lamborghini. And I don't know. The people I've talked to, I don't know. It doesn't seem like people have Lamborghinis very long. It seems like they have one, they get rid of it because they're kind of a pain in the ass to drive, and you got to be very careful where you drive, and you can tear up the bottom of them and this and that.
Sure.
If you go into somebody's house that has a sloped driveway, you have to park out. It's not. It sounds
Not
good.
practical, right? Yeah.
It's not practical. It's not
Yeah,
practical,
for sure.
and especially if you got two kids. When you strap one to the hood
And live on a dirt road like I do, which you just
yeah.
annihilate that thing.
And then the last thing is the how. And the how is where a lot of people get stuck, because they start with the how, but they don't really even know what and the why.
Mm-hmm.
And so creating the life that you imagine has to do with those three components in that order. And the how, you have to be, and I'm sure you're a successful entrepreneur, and the how may change. You may think something's a really, really good idea, and then the reality of it is no one's buying it.
That's right.
There's a book that's out there. I can't remember the author, but if the title is, "If your stuff is so good, how come no one's buying it?" There's a person I actually want to send that to, but he's already pissed off at me, really.
But no, I think that's why the some of the planning up front is important, because the farther out you can see something, you may have little complications to getting there, but just like the yodeling, if that was something you really wanted to do, whether it was 30 minutes or an hour and 30 minutes, you'd figure out a way to get it done.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So you commit to the things that you want, because it takes work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it takes work to do that. So it's the what, the why, and the how. That's the magic formula.
Absolutely. No, couldn't agree with you more. Well, Orest, I appreciate your time today, and for everyone out there listening, that wants to hear more from you and follow you, how do they get a hold of you? How do they keep in touch with you?
Okay, so you can listen to my podcast at oldguytalkstome.com, and we come out weekly, and I never know what's going to show up, and I never know what I'm going to say. I hear it for the first time when it passes my lips. Yeah. I just there are times that I can't believe I actually said that, but I did. And we don't do any editing. We don't do any editing on my podcast.
Perfect.
You can also get my free digital magazine at the standard.academy/magazine. And there's lots of good articles in there, especially the one about where to touch a woman, and also why men are pissing in their pants, among other articles out there. And you can also find out about my mentoring program by going to the standard.academy. And the thing about my mentoring program that's different from other things out there, and I'll just kind of brief commercial here for myself, is that most programs you go to and you get a bunch of information, and where you get a journal and you write in and everything else. And then you come home, you don't do anything with it. You put those notes on a bookshelf and they just sit there, and there's no accountability program. Yeah. So my mentoring program has weekly accountability calls.
That's great.
And I am thoroughly convinced that who's the book? Oh yeah, I was reading a book by a guy I interviewed, Sean Wells, who's known as the world's best formulator. and he's started a number of companies, and very, very ethical in terms of the formula supplement space, because that's a space with a lot of charlatans in it. But he made a comment in the book is that real results require a mentor to keep you accountable. And we've all had mentors. I've had mentors in my life. I've been fortunate to have them. And actually, once I started getting mentors, that's when my life started accelerating. And before that, it was kind of a shit show. It was kind of a shit show until I got to my 40s. Yeah. So I better bloom late than never.
Absolutely. Yeah. And unfortunately, when you make enough good mistakes, you can mentor people on how not to make those same mistakes.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely. And I've been known to say, like, that was the stupidest fucking thing I've heard. I don't play poker because I don't have a poker face.
Well, thank you so much, Orest, and thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys for watching today. Be sure to like and subscribe for more future episodes of Success Is Podcast. If you have any suggestions, please comment below. Look forward to seeing you next time.